So what was it like when the judges turned around and started fighting over you a little bit? I mean, what a feeling that must be.
Exhilarating, for sure. Surreal. Just one of the weirdest things in life that I've ever experienced. You're having all these emotions, all these thoughts, and even when you're singing, when I was singing on that song and then the chairs start turning around, you immediately cannot help but get up in your head and you're thinking about, wow, that's Blake Shelton. And he's turned around. Gwen Stefani turned around. Look at them. They're just right there. They're turning around for me. They're listening to me. They're being paid to sit here and listen to me right now. That's awesome. Oh crap! I'm still singing the song on national television. So you got to make your mind not wander off because it wants to wander.
Yeah.
So, you don't want to sing the song on autopilot. Because you're not. That's not exactly. You're not really giving yourself over to the performance.
Sure.
So you have that thought where you space out for a minute and then get back to your performance. That's kind of how it went.
Come out from the past, living in the future I created. Now, own an air minute. I'm in at a G. My NFT drop. You with that energy, stop. At all costs, I will protect funeral line the effect from the blast that I emit. I don't miss. I'm unfolding. Rise up, king. I'd rather build or destroy.
Welcome to the Joe Pavich Podcast. I'd like to thank my sponsors, Edwards Contracting Group, Giovanni Matita, Be Your Gift Mortgage, and today I got Ben Allen with me. Ben, great to see you.
Hey, Joe. How are you?
Good, man. I appreciate you being here today.
Glad to do it.
Ben is a semifinalist, right, in The Voice.
Semifinalist, yes.
Pretty awesome. And a local musician, kind of a legend in town, and I'm just glad to sit with you today, man.
That legend's a big word,
well,
man.
I got to blow it up right out of the gates,
Yeah.
But no, man, I've seen you play out there and stuff, and your band is awesome, by the way.
Thank you.
How long has the band been together?
Oh, goodness. So first show for the Ben Allen Band was 4th of July of 2014.
Okay.
So we are 11 years.
Nice.
11 years strong now. Yeah.
Oh, that's great. Now, how many members in the band?
It's always been a 5-piece band.
Okay.
Yep.
Nice. It's one thing I wish I would have done as a kid. I was big into sports. My brother Jason, I believe you know my brother Jason.
I think so, yeah.
So my brother Jason's a musician, sort of. I mean, and I was more of an athlete. And I wish I could have gone back, and when that guitar was sitting there in the room, I would have just grabbed it and learned it, because I could be playing with you today.
I wish I had done that also.
Yeah.
I was more sports oriented for all of my younger years and all the formative years and stuff, and then so it was this came around as music stumbled into my life as an afterthought.
Oh, really?
At some point, yeah, it really did. It just never expected it. Just one of those weird things.
Man.
Life has some turns,
Yeah.
twists and turns, as they say, and mine has had for sure.
So you don't need to grow up playing an instrument. You could pick it up at any point then.
I'm here to tell you, if you are 30 years old and you don't know how to play an instrument, take heart. You can still learn.
Yeah.
Yes, you can.
It's one thing I always thought of when it's time to put the real estate hat away. Maybe that's something I do. Play an instrument, maybe draw, do things I've always kind of want to learn how to do. And
Yeah.
I guess it's never too late.
Maybe I need to get into real estate at some point.
You don't, man. I'll talk you out of it for sure. So sports. So tell me about some of the sports you played growing up.
Sports for me, I was terrible at sports. I'll say that right out of the gate. When it came to team sports, I was not coordinated for basketball, baseball, and stuff. I played football in high school, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
I went to a little bitty school, like a little single A school. So it's like everybody, they tapped everybody on the shoulder to play because we barely could field the team, So I played ball and never was great at it. I enjoyed it with my buddies growing up, but it wasn't anything overly serious to me. When I was a senior in high school, my brother moved home from California, and he had 2 mountain bikes with him. And this was back in the day. It wasn't a known thing nearly the way that it has been over the years since then. But yeah, I've always been into motorcycles and stuff too. dirt bike riding, four-wheelers,
Nice.
stuff like that. And the mountain bike really, really fit me, fit my personality. And my senior year in high school, I wound up not playing football and just riding the wheels off of a mountain bike.
Nice.
Yeah, and that kind
So
of
now, where was this at?
East Tennessee.
Okay.
I grew up in East Tennessee, a place called Kingston, little town.
Nice.
Little town. Yeah.
So did you get a lot of the dirt trails with the jumps and everything?
Yeah, that was kind of the thing. Really, cross country mountain bike racing became my thing at that point, and I did that for a couple of years off and on, just totally as a hobby, just enjoying it. And then I got away from that as life changed, and then in my early 20s, that came back around. Life stabilized a little bit more, and I had time for a hobby again, and that became the big focus for me. Honestly, all of my 20s were spent chasing trophies on bicycles.
It's great. It's great. Biking's great. Now the thing with the kids with all these e-bikes and everything, you just hop on, hit there's no exercise at all. I always tell the kids, let's get out there and just ride the bikes. Let's forget about these e-bikes. Like if they're not charged, it's fine. Like that's not the end of the world. Yeah. Go run down to your friend's house, go ride the bike. Yeah. Remember the days riding your bikes around town?
That is central to the plot for me. Growing up and just I grew up riding my bicycle that was my little freedom machine, and it was always there for me. I could always turn to it and have a good time doing that. And so now as an adult, I still have those. That came again at that core time in your life when things are really formative, and that really got ingrained deeply in me to have that. And man, I've turned to it a million times in my life to have something to something to do and something to get some stress and frustration out with, and just it's good for you.
Yeah, riding bikes here isn't like it was up north.
It's not.
Yeah, you get to. It's funny because I was riding my bike. This is probably 10 years ago. The regular cycle bikes, whatever. Mm-hmm. And I was riding on the pavement, because I figured if I'm on the right side of the street, it's a 2-lane road, I'd be in more danger than I would be on the sidewalk when there's no one there. And I'm only going 10 miles an hour.
Makes sense.
And I remember one of the bikers was coming the other way, and he kind of gave me the look, like, you're on the wrong side of the street. And I'm thinking, well, you're in more danger than I am, that's for sure, because he's right in the middle of the street.
Yeah.
It's crazy, especially out where you live. I mean, there's not many places. You almost have to put your bike in the back and travel to ride.
Yeah, I mean, growing up in Tennessee and living there as an adult too, that was, I put a lot of miles on doing the road biking thing. I was one of those guys on Saturday morning you would see out in the countryside with 30 of them in weird little clothes, and I was one of those guys. Down here, I find it too dangerous to ride the road bike. I ride my mountain bike, and I still ride in town and on the roads and stuff, but I do stick more to the sidewalks and that kind of thing. Yeah. I'm not competitive with it these days. It's just for recreation and and to get my exercise and stay fit and stuff. So I'm not about it used to be 150, 180 miles a week, year round. Yeah. And that's not where I'm at these days. So
I'll tell you, that's a big thing. I mean, some of the clients I talk to, they ride more than I drive. I mean, the miles they put on their bikes are insane.
Some do. Some are that way, yeah.
But growing up, I was into BMXing, freestyling, skateboarding. That was a lot of fun.
Totally. Yeah.
My shins show, my past for sure.
Yeah.
So at some point you had decided to pick up some music. So around what age was that?
So I moved to Florida. I moved to Naples in 2009. And at that point, I had gotten, my progression had been, we'll talk about hobbies for now for the conversation. So at that time, it was, I had raced bicycles for a lot of years, and then I had gotten into racing dirt bikes, like hare scramble off-road racing. Yeah. Did that off and on for a little while, and then I wound up moving here, and all of those hobbies really kind of went away because they weren't available to me in Southwest Florida nearly so much. So it was just about work. I took a job with Collier County when I moved here. I had closed my own business in Tennessee. It was a time when the economy was was really bad. 2009. I'm sure you would recall being in real estate.
Yeah, that was like it felt like 10 years between those 3-year span. It would just, the market couldn't get better quick enough.
Yeah, it was tough. I got really lucky. I was flipping houses and doing some things like that in Tennessee, and had a few properties in process at the time, and the economy did what it did, and I was really lucky to get out with my shirt, basically, and moved down here. Wound up buying a house that had been foreclosed on in Naples, and I thought, man, if this doesn't work out, I'll sell this house in 2 years and go back to Tennessee, and I will have done well on that one house, enough to float my boat, so I'm not drowning.
Yeah.
That was 2009. I'm still here, so.
Man, so around that time frame, I remember in 2007, things were getting a little crazy, 8, 9. And I remember everybody around me was pulling equity lines and just buying multiple homes. And I was like the only one that wasn't. I was like waiting back, no, I'm not doing that. I'm not going to get caught in that, because I really believe that eventually you get stuck with one. Like if you flip 3, if you did one more at the wrong time, the money you'd lose on the 4th one would wipe out all the money you made on the first 3.
Yes.
So at the last, like, almost when the market was like a roller coaster, tink, 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 and it drops over,
Mm-hmm.
I caught it like right at the top. Like I couldn't have caught it any worse. And the market just went down. And I pulled the equity line. I started trying to flip homes, and they flipped me.
I
got flopped. Yeah.
Yeah, flip or flop.
You almost have to, though. I mean, I hate to say that, but when I look back, when I'm working with clients, real estate where they're underwater, I was underwater.
Yeah.
With my home, so I could relate to that. And I could relate to when people start flipping homes, giving them the advice to say, don't get too crazy with it. You almost have to go in and out, quickly.
Yeah, I was in with a partner on a couple properties, and we were the market was contracting big time. We were in things well enough that we weren't hurting, but we just couldn't get them sold, and so we couldn't sell them and move on and do more properties. And you could see the future wasn't going to be feasible to keep going like that.
Sure.
And I was wanting to live in Florida anyway. So it was everything in my life was pointing towards getting out of that and getting out of that area. And I wound up just sitting down with my partner and signing stuff over to him and saying, hey, all the work I've done, here it is. Good luck.
Yeah.
It's I'll just be off the note. You take the profit when it comes. Are you good with that? And he was totally good with that. So I was able to, and that all happened. I was, in my like late 20s doing that. I'm really, really fortunate. I mean, looking back now, I can see where I wasn't as smart at 28 years old as I thought I was, but I'm probably not as smart now as I think I am either. So
that's the way it goes.
For that matter.
I think that's the way it should go. Because when you look back at your life, I mean, I remember when I was doing my first real estate deal, I thought I knew everything, right? My first deal, I didn't know anything.
Yeah.
But you think you know so much. And I look at my life now and I wonder in 10 years if I look back and say, I didn't know nothing when I was 50, but I think I do. I think I'm pretty smart.
Oh, man. When I was, how old was I? I was 19 years old, had worked my tail off, and saved up, and I bought 7 acres of land. I paid cash for it.
Nice.
It was like $14,000.
Yeah.
It was not a super expensive piece of land, granted, but to a 19-year-old, I was a real estate mogul in that moment.
Yeah. All your friends were looking at you like, man, look at this guy, Ben.
They can't pay for their $1,500 car,
Yeah.
and I managed to do this. And it's just because after high school I just went to work and I worked hard. I was going to build on that land. Life changed. Kept it 2 years and sold it, and I made like $7,000 on it. And I thought that I was Donald Trump doing this stuff.
He's just making money left and right.
Well, I
must
wasn't,
have been in
but
Tennessee.
It was in Tennessee for sure. Yeah, no, that may have done me more harm than good overall. Because I felt like it was a success the first rattle out of the can doing that. So I wasn't as scared of doing it again in the future. And looking back now, I got in way over my head and was fortunate to be able to swim my way out of
Yeah.
it, you know? Yeah.
Have you looked up to see what the values are today of that property?
Not recently, no, but I'm sure it would make my head spin
Yeah.
thinking about it now. Yeah, for sure.
It's on the corner of Main Street, in Nashville or something.
Yeah, yeah.
Sold for $50 million.
Oh, yeah, exactly.
Yeah, you don't want to do that to yourself. So I like the recklessness of the bikes and the dirt bikes and skateboards. For me, I mean, we were crazy at that age. So any big accidents or crashes you had on bikes, I mean, you almost have to take a fall if you're into it like that.
You always take falls. Knock on wood, I have been lucky my whole life with spending a lot of time on two wheels without having broken bones and stuff. I've had lots of scrapes and bruises and stitches here and there and stuff, but no broken bones.
Okay, that's good.
I hit a car head on a motorcycle in Naples in 2010 or so. And again, I was blessed to come out of that with minor injuries.
Did you rear end them?
No, I wound up, a car pulled out in front of me and forced me into the median, and then I wound up popping out into oncoming traffic on the other side of the little median strip. And was going to, my only option was try to find a gap in the traffic, and there was no gap. There was nothing but a car. So,
luckily you're here, man. So what happened? Head on. How fast were you going?
I think both of us, me and the lady, were both maybe doing 25 or 30 by the time that we impacted. So I just, I wound up, I hit, over the handlebars and hit her windshield with my shoulder and my helmet. Had gloves and a jacket on and stuff. And
helmet,
of course, yeah. The windshield was much softer than I would have expected it to be. That safety glass, it broke and just really, really cushioned. And I rolled off the top of the car onto the road behind the car, and was immediately like on my feet and getting out of traffic.
Man, and nothing. Like what happened there? Any damage?
Yeah, I was beat up really bad, had stitches in my leg and really bad bruising, broke the motorcycle in half. Her car was damaged, obviously, the front end and windshield. She wasn't hurt, thankfully. So just minor stuff.
Yeah.
I was, it was a real eye opener.
Just to see that, like if you were driving down the road and you seen that happen, you would think that person would be dead, right?
I mean, a lot
25 is a lot, right? Especially two people going 25.
Yeah. Yeah.
Man.
Yeah, that's a lot of force, actually, and it all comes, in that instance, unfortunately, it all comes down on the motorcycle rider, There's inherent danger with that, and my wife and I go round and round over that, but I lost my brother on a motorcycle.
Did you?
I did, yeah. It's just something that my family has always done. I try to do it as safely as possible.
Yeah.
I do my best to not ride in town anymore and stay out of traffic. I like to go towards the unpopulated area in the middle of the state, or haul to Tennessee and ride the mountains, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
So.
Or get the bike as loud as you can, so nobody doesn't hear you. Right?
Pipes save lives. Yeah, they do. Yeah.
Man, that's crazy. Sorry about your brother. How long ago was that he passed away?
That was in 2018.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Man.
Yeah. He was. That was in Tennessee, and it was just one of those really unfortunate situations. It was the day that he bought the motorcycle.
Yeah.
And he had went to down in the edge of Georgia and bought it. Somebody found online, real nice Harley, brought it home in his truck, unloaded it, and went to town, and didn't make it home.
Yeah.
He just went to town to just go get some ice cream.
Yeah.
And bring it home, and he was sitting still. Was hit from behind, sitting still, waiting to make a turn, and it was an impaired driver situation.
Yeah.
So that's if he had been in a car, I think he would have been hit the same. I don't know that the result would have been the same, but
sure.
I think the guy would have hit him regardless. So.
Oh man.
Sorry. It is what it is.
So back in Tennessee, did you start playing? Were you like walking down Main Street in Tennessee over by Kid Rock's place, and you heard the the band playing through the window, and you go, man, this really got me here. Like, what got you going into music?
You know what? I lived my whole life in Tennessee and lived a good bit of time just north of Nashville, and I never was a musician at all. It didn't enter my mind. I grew up, singing in church. Like in as a Southern Baptist in Tennessee, you grow up that way, and so if you're in church 3 times a week, that means you're going to the children. You're going to be in the children's choir, and you're going to be in the youth choir and stuff because you're there, and that's where you go. So it's what you do. So I remember doing that as a kid, and knowing that I enjoyed it, and feeling like it was something that I kind of had maybe a little hidden talent for, but I was very shy about it and I didn't want to sing the lead parts on anything, because I was just shy.
Mm-hmm.
So no, it wasn't a thing at all. I moved to Florida in 2009, and with my hobbies kind of clearing out, I needed something to aim myself at a little bit. And I picked up a guitar that I'd had since I was 19, but didn't know how to play. At this point, I was like 30, 31, So I've to this day never had a guitar lesson. Technically, I would tell you guys, if you're out there and you're seeing this, just watch YouTube, get an acoustic guitar, and you'll probably learn to play incorrectly, but you'll still be making sounds come out of it. And, then you learn to sing along with a little bit, and before you know it, your whole life changes.
You're in a band. I mean, that's the way it goes.
Yeah.
That's crazy. So just like that, 31 years old.
Just like that.
Man, it's never too late. I have to go find my brother's guitar and bring it back to my house and play a little bit. Yeah. Man. So when did that moment come where you realized, like, hey, I'm pretty good at this?
So I spent, I don't know, a year and a half or so at that point in life, working for the county, coming home, and just playing guitar at night, watching YouTube and learning to play, and just learning to sit there and play. I couldn't stand up and play the guitar. I could only sit down and do it. And one day I get on, like, I guess it was Craigslist at the time, and I'm looking at, like, oh, there's a musician section. There's, a music section on here. What's in that? Oh, it's instruments for sale. Oh, what's this? This is an ad for open mic night at the bowling alley here in Naples. Open mic night. Wow.
Yeah.
Never been to one of those. Who goes to that? I had no idea. I'm going to go see. So I go. I didn't take a guitar. I had no intention of singing. I went to watch. First step, I'm going to go watch and just get a night. Well, there was nobody there. There was the hosts and 3 other people, and the entire place was a bar room on the side of a bowling alley. There's nobody in there.
Perfect.
It's not a successful event.
Perfect place to start, right?
Yeah. So I wound up getting encouraged by the host to get up. He literally shoved his guitar in my hand and said, "Just, do you know a song?" "Yeah, sort of." "Well, here, just begin, just start, just see what happens, And I think because very much like bicycling, motorcycling, racing, things like that, there's an adrenaline component to that. So he put his guitar in my hand and put me in front of a microphone, and it scared me to death, which I was immediately attracted to.
You can't get hurt. You can't get hurt playing the guiter at a bowling alley, right?
Well, you can get your pride hurt pretty bad. I'll tell you that.
I doubt that happened though. You killed it, didn't you?
I honestly, no, I didn't kill it at all. But I got through it, and it made me want to do it again. And so I came back the next week, and I knew another song, and I did that for a few weeks, and then it just got to be a thing. I was, every Thursday night or whatever it was my night to go to open mic night, and I looked forward to it more than anything out of the whole week, So I immediately started leaning into that and going to other open mics, and then before you know it, way too soon, somebody sees me at an open mic and it's like, hey, would you like a job? Would you like to work? You know, and I'm like, this was at a place in Naples, and I'm literally thinking that they want me to wash dishes or something. The idea of like this being a real thing had not occurred to me, you know. So no, they're like, we need somebody on Thursday nights. We need 4 hours every Thursday night, you know. And I'm like, oh, man, I know like 5 songs. I cannot stand up and play the guitar at the same time. I have to sit down. The muscles are different when you're learning. You know, I was still learning. I didn't have a PA system. I didn't have any of that stuff. 4 hours every Thursday night. Okay.
Nice.
I don't know what I was thinking.
Oh,
but
man. So what
but
were those? What were a couple of those songs that you were playing back in the day?
Woo. You know, that's funny, but I honestly don't really remember, other than there was a Matchbox 20 song that was one of the first songs I ever learned ever to play, because it was simple and easy enough to get through on acoustic guitar, and so that song. And there's been so many that have come and gone over the years since then. I don't even recall what the other ones were, truthfully.
It'd be cool if you had that video today. Have somebody record that. That'd be great to see.
It would be funny to say. I would get a good laugh out of it. I know that I sat there and the guitar always would shake, as it would be a giveaway of what I was feeling doing this, because my leg would shake. And when the guitar's sitting there on your knee, and the whole guitar would just shake. So
the nerves.
I guess I got over that at some point, but yeah.
So what's it like today when you get on stage? Do you feel that rush that you felt back then?
Absolutely. I still feel it. The stage feels very much like home to me now, but having done it for a good long time. It's a comfortable place. It's not as scary a place as it used to be. After you get some, different things under your belt, it becomes, kind of, just what you do. But it's still, so it may not be quite the all-out adrenaline rush that it once was, but it's still, I'm thankful for it every time that I get to step on stage. Truthfully.
That's great.
I love to get to do it, and not many people get to do what I do for a living. So I always want to be, aware of that.
Sure. So for a guy that loves the rush, let's talk about the voice, getting on stage in front of the whole world. I mean, that was crazy, because we watched you here, man. We were all rooting you on and everything. And what is it like getting on the stage to perform for the world? That adrenaline rush. That
put it back to much bigger than that initial adrenaline rush the several years before that. So, but yeah, that was an ultimate high for me as a musician. To get to go out and do that, because like on that show, part of it is the later rounds are live on TV, and live is live, man. There's like a few seconds delay, but on the West Coast of the country, it's going out right then, and the rest of the country, it's going out pretty soon, and they're not going to change it. But even on the initial episodes, like with chair turns and everything, whatever happens is what happens. That's what goes on the film, and there's no edits, retakes. If you screw it up, there's no net. So that element of no net is part of the adrenaline of it.
Sure.
And and part of the beauty of it too, because people fail in that position sometimes, and people excel at other times. So just seeing what's going to happen, stepping out there and not knowing for certain that it's going to be okay, it was fun.
It's awesome. Who was the person that told you should go on The Voice?
I don't know that I had somebody that specifically said that I should. It was a long process of me. It was a multi-year journey for me to get to that point of doing that. It started with right about the time that I was still doing like open mics, I saw an ad again on, Craigslist again, I'm saying here. That's funny. On Craigslist, of looking for people to audition for The Voice in Miami, secret audition. I'm like, that is some bull crap. That is somebody scamming on here, and I don't like it. And I'm going to email them and tell them I don't like it. I don't appreciate that. They're scamming people, you know, and I see them. Well, they weren't scamming people. It was actually the casting agency that still works with that show today. And they were quietly looking for people to audition. And I wound up auditioning, didn't get it, but learned a lot through the experience of it and felt the pressure of it. And that pressure was a big part of the learning experience, you know. So, and that got me the connection with that casting agency as well. So the following year, I think, I emailed them and was like, hey, I would love to audition again with you. And they said, yes, we great. So this time I go to Atlanta and I audition. And I got through that round. I see all of these fabulous singers. We're all sitting in a room, and you can hear people auditioning one at a time in the next room. And you can hear these voices, these big voices, and it's intimidating, right? And then they come out, and this person that's in there belting out, they come out and they got their head down and they hit the door and they're gone. And you're like,
man.
Ooh, that's brutal.
And from this side of the room, they sounded pretty good. I'm surprised they're leaving, right?
Yeah, you're like, wow, listen to that. And then they come out and they're out the door. I got through that round. They put me through to the next round and said, do an on-camera interview, and we're going to talk about you as a person, who you are, where you're at in your life. They're looking for how entertaining are you going to be?
Sure.
What's your storyline? So I come out of that, and the guy says, okay, look, I'm going to level with you. You're probably going to California. You know, that went really well. I believe in you. I really like who you are and what you've got to what you could bring. There's going to be some more cuts based on the videos they just made. When we get back to LA, we're going to, you know, da 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 da. Bottom line, I'll wait a few weeks. I get an email. Thanks for applying. Try again.
Wow.
That's basically all it says.
Jeez.
I'm like,
They don't have to tell you in your face. They just tell you later, right?
yeah, that's not a phone call. It's brutal, and I've found out, and since then I've come to understand that's part of the casting process for stuff like for TV shows, for acting roles and things like that. Nobody's going to be cautious about your feelings.
Yeah.
You know, it's business, and they're just going to tell you no and go away.
You're not good enough. Or they would say to you, that's just too loud. Remember Back to the Future?
Oh, yeah.
What Huey Lewis said to Michael J. Fox, who was playing the same song. That's just too loud. Get out of here.
Yeah. What's the cartoon where as soon as they start strumming, too loud. You're too loud.
That's right. Man.
So, yeah, it was a multi-step
like
process. And I went through that another time in Atlanta, the exact same experience. At that point, I'm like, okay, I'm fed up with this. I'm not doing that again. I was busy. At that point, my band's busy. I worked for Collier County all day, and I played music all night, multiple nights a week, and life was busy, lots going on. I said, I'm not doing that again. And then I did it again. So a couple years later, I randomly found that guy's phone number in my contacts. And I thought, it just crossed me. I'm like, boy, he's not going to work there. You know, I'm like, in about 3 seconds, I'm like, you know what? If he's not, I'm going to lose this contact through this. You know, this is a good contact.
Sure.
Do I really want to let this slip? He probably doesn't work there anyway now. I rang his phone at his desk in Los Angeles. The guy answered the phone. He knew exactly who I was as soon as I told him. And he said, it's been 2 years, but yes, I remember both times that I saw you. I still believe that you were right for the show. We would love to see you again. We're auditioning right now.
Yeah.
3 days. I think that was on a Friday. I played 3 shows that weekend and flew to North Carolina on Monday for the audition. So after 3 shows over the weekend, my voice was chewed all up. I was croaking like a frog, as they say. And I sounded worse. I guarantee I sounded worse that time than I had the previous time. And that's the one that I got.
Wow.
That's the time it worked, so.
Man, an audition process, like, is there a big line of people that you got to wait through to get into the room, or how does that work out?
So
how many people in the room?
So it's not the cattle call audition that you kind of think of with, the way American Idol has been over the years and stuff, showing all the people in the stadium waiting their turn and stuff. This was like the next audition beyond that. So I basically, for The Voice, they don't do the cattle call stuff. They audition quietly. So I started there. So it was invite only. It was not advertised. There was no media that knew it was going on in their city or anything. It was just very quietly done at local studios. So they're auditioning all day for 2 or 3 days straight in a city. So you're in there with 30 people or so at the time in a waiting room, and you see people coming and going, and so it's not the big massive thing. It's a little more, a little more behind the scenes vibe to it, kind of thing.
Yeah, it's nice. Yeah, I've always thought about that. You kind of think of you going into a room and there being maybe three judges or something watching you play, or you almost wonder if they did it like The Voice, where they turn around and they just want to hear you.
It's sort of like that. There's no glitz and entertainment factor to it, because it's all just a working session. So, but it's obviously it's not the TV judges, your big famous folks. It's the hardworking casting people behind the scenes that are really in charge of who gets to the show.
Sure.
It's who gets to that step before the chair's turn. So it was that, but they're cordial. But it's business, they're not there to pet your ego. And if it's not right, they say, thank you, and you can go.
Yeah.
And that's the only explanation you're going to get, so
you kind of wonder
it's a little brutal.
Yeah, I could see that. You kind of wonder about the stories though, right? Everybody tells their story, and some people get so caught up in the story. Do you think it'd be better without the story?
I don't know. It would be different. But I think the stories are very valid, because everybody wants to be not just in somebody's corner because they sing good.
Yeah.
They want to be in their corner because they like who they are as a person, and they can identify with them, or they just, you want to root for, it's the reason you root for your home team, even though those players are not from your hometown.
Yeah.
You root for your local football team, your NFL team from Nashville or whatever. And,
Sure.
And those guys aren't from Nashville, but it's Nashville's team. So you got to have something besides just the ability on the field, or the ability, on stage. So yeah, I think the stories play.
Yeah.
But then that also causes the storyline side of it to be competitive as well. So you do get that element of, who can sing the saddest story about their life, and they're going to get on the show.
Sure.
That kind of thing.
Yeah.
So it's there's a balance there. I think they do a great job of balancing and weeding out people who may be willing to upsell the difficulty their life has been to this point.
Mm-hmm.
That kind of thing. So they can see through that a little bit.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, I understand that. And it seems like they're all the same way, right? American Idol's the same as The Voice, and with the stories and everything. When you get to, like, yes, you made it, right? What's the next steps from there on the show?
Well, so for me, I went to the show in 2020 when I headed to California. It was like July the 5th, 2020. COVID was raging. We did not know if we were going to go to California and do the show up until the day before I flew out. They finally were like, okay, we're telling everybody across the country, just get on the plane and get here, and we'll go from there. So I stepped out in faith and did that. Went, and COVID was a mess during that. So I wound up Typically, they do it a little differently if there's not a national pandemic going on. But because of that, once I was there, they didn't want anybody to leave. So typically, they send people home at some point, and then you're home for a few weeks, come back. There's some back and forth over the summer. This season, it was just get here, stay here. So I didn't leave until I think I was there maybe 2.5 months before I went home for a week. And quite honestly, I was the only one at that point that went home. And I went home because I needed to get home. Life was happening at home, and I needed to be there.
Yeah.
And they were going to send everybody home, and then they came to us about 4 days before that and said, "Look, we can't send anybody home. COVID's just we just can't. So everybody's gonna have to stay. Nothing's gonna go on for the next week. You're just gonna be stuck here in the hotel." And I went to my producer that I was dealing with, and I said, "Look, I'm not trying to be disrespectful or unappreciative for this experience and this opportunity, but I got to go. So I'll be glad to come back if you'll take me back, but I'm going home."
Yeah.
So they had me on a plane the next morning. I was home for a week, and I came back. All was well. So
to be along that's a long period of time to be away right there. 2.5
Yeah.
months. I mean, with jobs and stuff, like, what did you have to do? Just tell your boss, or is it your own business? Or
at that time, I worked full time for Collier County,
Okay.
Engineering services through growth management at Collier County, and they were kind enough to give me a leave of absence through all of that. So that was within the parameters of what the county will do for people in certain circumstances, and they did that for me. And I remember my boss's boss telling me at the time, he just, he shook my hand. He said, "It's been good having you. I know this is the end of you working here." And I'm like, no, this is not me trying to quit slowly. This is, he was right.
Yeah.
He was right. I went back. I wound up being almost 6 months in California to do the show. And so for years before that, I had been working full time and working the band full time, and it's a lot. It was a lot running, not just playing the shows, but running the band. So there's a lot of hats to wear. I came back to Florida and realized now I've had 6 months off of shows and off of my day job and all this, and wow, I realized just how burnt I was getting on things. So I went back to the county job for about 6 or 8 weeks, and with trying not to burn any bridges, I put in my resignation and left.
Yeah. Talk about a leap of faith, though, really, because you could have been back in a week, a day. I mean, who knows?
You just didn't know. Yeah, you just didn't know. When you're out there as a part of that show, and I'm far enough removed now that I don't think anybody's going to complain about me, kind of telling how it goes.
Yeah.
But, they bring a whole bunch of people out there for the show. So, 4 teams of 10 is what they wind up with, but they got to go through a lot of people. So they bring 100, 120 or so people out, and you're auditioning from the moment you get there, whether you know it or not.
Yeah.
Every interaction that you have with the producers, with the band, all of it, you're auditioning. If your personality is not right, you're gonna get an email saying, "We'll be bringing your plane ticket to you this evening or shortly, and your flight is at 6:00 tomorrow morning." And they'll tell you and I saw that happen over and over and over again. Some people they just weren't right for the show. They just weren't cutting it, talent-wise or whatever, but they wound up quietly going home. They would always do it late in the evening, and it was always for a flight first thing out of LAX the next morning.
Sure.
Yeah, so they didn't want you talking to a bunch of people that were still other, contestants, and so you would just get up and go to a meeting the next morning or something, and you're like, "Oh, where's so-and-so? They're not here now."
They had it down to a system for sure.
Yeah.
Man.
Yeah.
So did you get a chance to meet any of the judges before the big stage?
No, they make sure that you don't interact with them at all because they want that big reveal. They want it to be that big moment, which that makes sense. And that way it's, by the time that you do the chair turn thing, you've been there for several weeks. You've gone through all the process with all the wardrobe, all the blocking, all the rehearsals, all the band sessions, all the vocal coach sessions, all this stuff. It's really built up. You're away from home. It's really built up in your mind, and they want it that way.
Yeah.
And it makes for a bigger moment on screen, So it builds up in your mind, and for the time you walk out there behind those chairs, it's a fever pitch by then. It really is. Then you're hoping they turn around, and you see what happens. But yeah.
And they did.
They did.
They did. So you mentioned like wardrobe. So do you have someone like a designer back there that's controlling your stage presence and what you walk out with and what you're singing and that sort of thing?
Yeah. So it's the funny thing about that is wardrobe. So this is on like the NBC lot in Hollywood, so where they film all their shows. So you go to wardrobe, and it's not just wardrobe for this. It's wardrobe for a lot of other things. It's a big central warehouse of clothes. So you go in and pick. It's like going in Big Lots, man, or going into Goodwill. It's like going to Goodwill. It's like some clothes still have the tags on, some have been worn, but it's all stuff. It's all kind of random by size, but it doesn't look like you're at a store per se. So anyway, you pick out clothes, and then you wind up getting photographed in a few different outfits, and it's all stuff that you picked, and then from there they pick from one of your picks. And then the weird thing about it is you got to be recognizable all the way through the show. So, to people out there all across America, and they're seeing you on TV, they may not remember you exactly the next week, but they're going to remember you partially by appearance. So, for instance, if you wear a hat on your first appearance, you will wear a hat every time you're on.
Wow.
Similar, and they're not going to let you dress in a completely different style. The same as they're not going to let you switch genres of music.
Mm-hmm.
Once you're in a lane, that's your lane.
You're not moving.
You're not going to change lanes on them. They're going to keep you in that lane. Yeah. And that's I kind of understand why it has to be that way.
That makes sense. So what was it like when the judges turned around and started fighting over you a little bit? I mean, what a feeling that must be.
Exhilarating, for sure. Surreal. Yeah, just one of the weirdest things in life that I've ever experienced. You're having all these emotions, all these thoughts, and even when you're singing, when I was singing on that song, and then the chairs start turning around, you immediately cannot help but get up in your head, and you're thinking about, wow, that's Blake Shelton. And he's turned around. Gwen Stefani turned around. Look at them. They're just right there. They're turning around for me. They're listening to me. They're being paid to sit here and listen to me right now. That's awesome. Oh crap! I'm still singing the song on national television. So you got to make your mind not wander off because it wants to wander.
Yeah.
So, you don't want to sing the song on autopilot. Because you're not. That's not exactly. You're not really giving yourself over to the performance.
Sure.
So you have that thought where you space out for a minute and then get back to your performance. That's kind of how it went.
Wow, I'm good enough, right? That's probably what you're thinking. Like they like what they hear. It's crazy.
It was super, super awesome to hear that and to get that approval, to get that stamp like that. Yeah, just to have people that are your ultimate peers in the business like this, give their approval. It's different from hearing it from, your wife who loves you no matter what.
That's
and
right.
tells
Yeah.
you, oh,
You're always
honey,
the
you
best
sound
singer.
great,
Yeah.
And
Your wife says that to you? Mine doesn't say that to me. My wife does this thing to me, Ben, where I'll sing a song and she'll act like she don't know what it is. and I know that she knows what I'm singing.
Uh-huh.
And then I'll say, you know what I'm singing. And my daughter in the back seat will say, Dad, yeah, I know what song that is.
Yeah.
But she does that to me to make it seem like I'm not a decent singer, like she can't recognize it.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
That's how it goes.
A little head games.
Yeah, exactly. Was there more pressure at that moment, though? Like after you made it, now every week you got to keep making it. Is there?
That's the pressure of the show for sure. It's and after going through it the first time, you learn, and then if were you to do it again, you might do some things differently. But what else is? I mean, everything's that way, I guess. But for me, I had one of probably my biggest moment on the show was the chair turn moment. And that as far as in terms of like momentum with voting and things, at that point, like I got this kind of wow moment, that worked really well in my favor at that moment. I was, behind the scenes, things were looking good at that moment.
Yeah.
Hey, this worked great.
This is real.
And then you realize, well, it's like a football team that peaks too early in the season. You don't want to peak early in the season.
Sure.
You got to peak at the end. So then it's just the challenge of picking songs and then being allowed, out of what you pick, being allowed to sing what is going to work best for you as far as momentum with votes, and as it goes along, the storylines play in, and there's probably an aspect of them. Nobody tells you what's going to happen or what to do, but they do guide you as far as they have final say on what song you're going to sing. And then, of course, they're editing, the comments that are said, so they kind of direct everything in certain directions to go. It's a show. The purpose of the show is television ratings. It's not to find the next country star or best singer on the planet.
Yeah.
It's for ratings for the show, and so that going into it, and you just kind of have to accept that part of it.
Yeah.
Which I totally did. But yeah, there's an aspect of things being. It's not just may the best singer win.
Sure.
Overall.
Yeah.
It's not.
I've kind of wondered that. It's like, if you picked a song that you really wanted to sing because it may be a better song for you than something else, and there may be a little bit of that politics going on with that.
A little bit. Morgan Wallen is a great example to me. He was on the show 3-4 years before I was. And he made it past the chair turns. I think he only got one chair turn, and I think he was out in the very next round. And it was an example of it not being the right vehicle for Morgan Wallen, and we all know what he's turned into,
Yeah.
But that show just wasn't what fit him the best. He had a lot of talent that he couldn't showcase on a singing competition,
Sure.
because he's got all these massive songs in his pocket that he writes. And so again, it's a singing competition, but it's a ratings. It's about ratings.
Yeah. Did you get a chance to know any of the judges or getting any good advice from them that have helped you today?
Yeah, mostly just. I mean, I had Blake Shelton telling me, understand that this is learn from the whole thing. Maybe you go on from this and you go to Nashville and it turns into what you want it to be, or maybe it doesn't, but learn from it. And not only the judges, but the producers behind the scenes were telling us, they were like, hey, somebody's going to win this show. They get $100,000. That's great. I mean, who doesn't want to win $100,000,
Sure.
right? And be the winner. But they really drove the point home, and they were correct about this. We were all winners at that point just for being on the show. That set us apart from, I think they had, I forget how many hundreds of thousands of submissions they had for videos and people that they actually looked at just for that one season, So to get on the show and get that national television exposure, and have the story to tell to people from now on. It's a card. They said this is a card that you can play over and over and over again if you do it right. And Joe, that's what I've been doing ever since. Not that I'm like leaning on that as like a one-trick pony. Oh, look at me, I was, on The Voice.
Yeah.
Ultimately, I'm like Big Whoop. But it just kind of gives you something inside of yourself. I think we all need, regardless of what business you're in, we all need something inside of ourselves to drive us and that we can lean on in the tougher moments, and I can go out on stages now and be more confident that I would have been scared in previous to that.
Sure.
Because I have this relative experience that's been, pretty scary.
Yeah.
So
yeah, any crowd is a little bit easier than playing in front of America in front of 3.
It can be. I mean, hey, small houses can be just as tough as that room was, truly. But that's the joy of it and the beauty of it is you never know what it's going to be when you go on stage. So you just make of it what you can every time.
What was it like coming home and seeing all the fan base and all the media and everything? Was that a surreal moment?
Surreal, again, is the right word for it. I kind of pride myself on being humble, even though I have a lot of words coming out of my mouth today. But coming back to Florida and realizing the support that I had been given and seeing it the whole time while I was out there, I was people were constantly messaging me and showing support, and the votes were there, and the ratings for the TV show. The producers came to me one time and said Fort Myers, Florida, was the highest rated market for our show last night.
Wow.
Of all their markets, of all across the country.
It's crazy.
So that really, really just warmed my heart thinking about how many people that I have played at that point already had played shows in front of in this area, and obviously made a lasting impression on them, and they, and that includes a lot of snowbirds and stuff too, because they see me play here and then they go home and, I always tell people touring is reversed for me.
Yeah.
The people tour, and I stay put mostly.
People still walk up to you and say, "Hey, I see you on The Voice."
Yes, definitely. Yep.
That's great. Well, the cool thing is you seem like a humble guy to me, and I didn't really know you until today, and now we know each other.
Absolutely.
As a matter of fact, you have to sign this buyer-broker agreement that I'm your real estate agent forever. But
gladly.
No, but it's pretty awesome. Is there a dark side to all this, Ben?
A dark side to this.
You become something, right? Kind of, you make it on the show. Everybody now knows who you are. And then the more friends, more followers you get on social media, the more comments people make. Do you see the dark side to the business where people can get caught in that web?
I mostly see enough of it to really recognize it when I see what goes on with other people that are at a bigger level than I'm at. Anybody that does something in the public eye and starts gaining a few fans, a few followers or stuff, ultimately every person at some point is going to experience something with somebody where they realize this person is only interested in me because of that. And that's okay.
Sure.
You just have to understand that they're not necessarily your real friend, just because they're interested in you because you did something on television.
Sure.
Doesn't make them your best buddy,
Yeah.
So you kind of temper that all together and but it's I can totally see how, being a musician there's a toughness to it. One of my favorite pictures that I ever saw was the back steps going up on a stage somewhere in some little club, some dingy, dirty little dark club somewhere out there. It was, I've seen a bunch of them, and they all have a similar appearance in a certain way. The steps going up the back of the stage, on the steps it said, "Try not to suck." And it's just that brutal, you know. It's like you're going out here and you really better be ready to perform for people, because that's what you're here for. So, the ride of it all, you see people, you know, get to the top of the mountain, and that is awesome, and they've realized some of their biggest dreams in their life. And you see some of those people crash and burn terribly on the backside of their career, because it's hard to take that the air slowly coming out of the balloon, you know.
Sure.
I don't know. I just try my best to be grateful and do bring as much energy and a good entertaining show every time I play.
Yeah.
And it's been working for quite a while, and I hope it keeps working forever, man. I hope it does.
It's great to still love to do what you do, entertain people. I think that's the
Absolutely.
biggest thing. It's you can't forget why people are there to see you is because you're good, you know.
Well, for whatever reason, I've been able to do pretty well with crowds coming out, and we just hope they'll keep coming.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. As far as like, you know, pause for a second.
Yep.
Where are we at?
101.
Okay.
We
Right, pretty quick. Pretty quick.
101 stop. For future Sam. Okay, good.
Ben, success is a weird thing because a lot of times people get the taste of success and it changes them as a person, right? Now all of a sudden they think they're up here and they're going to act differently and be differently, and you know they're going to get more attraction, right? More people will like them. They get caught up in that, and but I think it's so cool to stay humble and just be who you are, man. Keep doing what you're doing and entertaining.
It's, in my experience, it's been the best way to keep your career on track. You know,
Yeah.
I heard it from a famous artist from the '90s one time, and I opened for him, and I could tell that he was making a point. Like, he put out effort to make certain that he was super nice to me, you know?
Yeah.
And he's genuinely a nice guy, but he was also, I could see that he wanted to make certain that he came off that way, you know? And we chatted about it, and and in talking to the club owner that we were at that night too, they've been friends for 30 years. And the reason they're friends for 30 years is because the guy's nice, you know? Now, other people that may have bigger careers than him from all those years ago, their career's done at this point because they were not good to the people around them and not good to the venue owners and things like that.
Sure.
If you act like a jerk, you're not going to get hired later, you know?
Yeah.
So be good to people, you know? It's the same, and I'm sure it's the same with you in real estate.
Yeah.
You know, we all trade on our reputation at some point.
Yeah.
So.
We get beat up a little bit here and there, but it doesn't take us off path, right?
Yeah.
We just keep doing what we're doing. So you ever go back to Nashville and play?
Fun fact, I have never sang a song in Nashville.
Really?
No, to this date, I have not.
Sure, they'd love to have you back, man. You got to go there and play.
I would love to do it, and I keep thinking I will at some point, and the opportunity is there. I have, you know, fortunately I have the contacts and the ability to set that up and do some shows. It's just never been the utmost important thing to me in life. And I don't know. It's a bucket list thing.
Yeah.
I will at some point, I'm sure. Yeah.
So I was in Nashville, and there was a guy that I was talking to. He's a musician, and I said to him, I said, "So what does it take to play at these bars?" I go, "Every bar you go to, everybody's good." He says, "Man, it's a process." So, well, tell me about it. And he says, "Well, if you're pretty good, they'll have you for like a Monday at 10 o'clock, right? And if you're really good, maybe you come back at 11. You play the 11 o'clock, and then if you're even better, maybe you get the noon to 1 or 2, 3 o'clock. And when you're really good, you play at night. It's a process. They start you off in the morning. And I thought that's kind of a cool system, right?
Yeah.
You get to Friday night, 5, 6 o'clock, you're doing it, I guess.
Yeah. And a lot of those places in Nashville, quite honestly, it's pay to play.
Yeah.
So people have to fork out money out of their own pocket just to get to go on stage and play a little show.
Wow.
So, and they're hoping they get it back in the tip jar, you know, and get the experience and the exposure they're looking for out of it. But it's such a competitive market that a lot of those places, you're having to fork out to do it, especially if it's a time when there's something big going on in Nashville where there's extra people. But Nashville's gotten so big now there's always a big crowd down there. So,
Sure.
I don't know, and that's not every place every time. I know people that play downtown Nashville on a regular basis. People, excuse me, people I was on the show with, and that's their angle. They're chasing that, and I, God bless them. I hope it works great for them. You know, everybody's got their own path to follow. If somebody thinks they need to be in Nashville trying it, then they should be in Nashville trying it.
That's right.
Because you don't want to get to the end of your rope and not and have a bunch of, what ifs. I don't like what ifs.
Do what you love to do. Yeah, and I'm not a what if thinker either.
Nah.
Just got to do it. So, Ben, has this opened up a lot of doors for you in the music industry with other singers or
Definitely so. It's you never know what's going to happen. I mean, one season to the next, you're doing, you're going along and you're doing your thing and you're playing lots of shows and life's going well. But and then a big show pops up and you fly off somewhere and you play. We play most of the shows in Southwest Florida. That's home base. But I've been blessed to travel all over the country from one end to the other and down in Mexico. And we're about to go on a cruise. Still a few cabins left on the cruise coming up. So we're going to do that for a week and go all over the Cayman Islands, the Caribbean, Mexico. I've been to Cabo and played, Maine on the other end of the country. So we get around.
Yeah.
I've turned down big meetings in Nashville before because I didn't feel like it was right for me at that particular time. You just never know. I'm gonna go to Orlando in a couple months and play a show with some of the guys from 38 Special. They're gonna be my backing band.
Yeah.
Now how cool is that?
That's great.
So.
Yeah, love that.
So yeah, there's definitely cool moments. You get to meet good people, cool people that are way up the chain from you. At certain times, open, see how they see behind the scenes how they're doing their shows. To me, it's all about, I've been in this a long time already, and it's always about learning.
Yeah. And then to get to the next level where you're trying to promote songs and different things, or albums,
mm-hmm.
What's that next step, the process like?
That, for me, it has been, I straddle a line a little bit between a corporate band, per se, and a known band.
Yeah.
where the name of the band, so I get booked to play and a lot of times it's because people know Ben Allen band and they want Ben Allen up there singing and playing and they want to see that at their club or wherever, and that's why I get hired. And other times I get hired because a corporate, some corporate event where they need a band, and I'm nameless at that point, basically, So we'll go and play that show, and in that instance, we're not coming in where they're like, "Oh, here's your green room, and here's all the stuff, and what can we get for you, Mr. Allen?" It's not that. It's make sure that you do what you're supposed to do, and you're basically a hired employee, And I'm totally good with either way, It's always nice for people to know you, but it is also nice to go in under the radar and nobody knows you. You've just been hired to come and play because they needed a band and your band fit the bill. So to go in those situations and win people over, that's fun. But as far as albums and songs and stuff like that, I have tended to chase the performance side of it more than the recording side of it. I do have some original songs that I'm proud of, but if I'm being honest, chasing put an album and trying to be a signed artist in Nashville has never been my ultimate focus,
Mm-hmm.
And I think that has helped me be successful in the direction that I have gone.
Yeah.
I'm not chasing. I know a lot of people that perform and save their money and they play shows and scrap and save, and then they go to Nashville. And let me just tell you, if you're going to Nashville, don't forget your wallet, because there's a ton of people that have names you will know that are more than willing to work with you if you've got your wallet,
Yeah.
and when your wallet runs dry, that situation is going to dry up,
Yeah.
so and I realized that a long time ago. You get put in contact with somebody that you're like, wow, I can't believe I've got so-and-so's phone number right here in my phone.
Sure.
This guy, like I listened to this guy's songs when I was in high school, and that's amazing,
Yeah.
and I'm talking to him, right? And he wants to work with me. Well, he's broke
Yeah.
at this point, and his income is working with guys like you who come to town with your money in your pocket that want to record some songs,
Yeah.
and you think it's just that easy. If I'll get some stuff recorded, and that's how it works.
Yeah.
That's not really how it works, So it's a good way to go broke. Maybe that's worth the trade for a lot of people. For me, it's always been, I need solid stones to stand on in life. I've got a family, and I'm not a child, and so I need firm places to stand. And I've never been ultimately willing to. Maybe I've just been scared. I've not been willing to step out on faith and test myself to that degree.
Yeah. What kind of reminds me of a real estate analogy is that, for me, a lot of people ask me, Joe, you should sell real estate down in Port Royal. You should go down there. Like it's easy to just go in there and just,
Right.
get $100 million listings.
Yeah.
And I'd have to give up what I'm doing here to go there and do that, which I'd rather do this. This is, my market here.
Sure.
from Cape to Nape. That's my
Okay,
area.
Gotcha.
But, to go all the way down there, I'd give up what I'm doing here. It's like for you, if you'd give up what you're doing here to chase the album and creating songs and doing all this stuff and trying to, make it bigger, right? But you may not. So you can't lose this to get that.
Yeah.
And that's the same thing with me. It's like, I can't chase that because I'm very happy with what I'm doing here. This works.
Yeah. I think there's a lot to be said in recognizing what you have and valuing that compared to what it is it's like new cars, Don't compare a new car to walking. You're not walking.
Yeah.
You have a car, Is it the shiniest car? Is it as shiny as the new one? No, it's not. But does it carry your stuff and get you around? So yeah, there's a lot of value in what you have,
Yeah.
So don't compare what you don't have to nothing. Compare it to where you're actually at. And to me, it's like, look at it honestly with clear eyes and realize what it is that you're wanting, what you're desiring that you don't have, and does that really provide it?
Yeah.
That's, to me, that's been a great way to be happier and more content in life. Contentment in life is huge to me, honestly.
100%. One thing I noticed, Ben, I saw you got your guitar case here today. So love to hear a little something. Love to hear you strum a little something today. You can't come into the podcast without playing a little something. So I got to hear a little bit of that.
I mean, we could do that. We could do that.
Before I do that, though, I want you to give some words to the wise, younger generation that wants to get into music. And I heard, and I kind of heard it a little bit earlier, but I just want to hear you give some words to the wise too.
Word to the wise. Let's see. I tell you, just like I'm telling my own son, reach for the stars, reach for your dreams. Figure it out what it is that makes you tick and go for it. But if that seems really extreme and the likelihood of that is, you have to recognize what's the likelihood of that actually working. Okay, so temper that a little bit with a solid path. Like I worked for Collier County for 11 years, and I played music, and I did both for a long time. And it's just, to me, it's like, have your feet firmly on the ground and step to another stone in the creek, but never lift that back foot until the front one's solid. That's just been me. So
I like that.
Yeah.
Ben, that's great. And, my message for the show really is kind of based on that a little bit. It's, I'm sitting here with a guy today, Ben, who I don't really know until today. And it's really great to meet you. I feel like I developed a friend today on the show.
Sure.
And that's the goal, right? It's for me to get people comfortable enough to have a conversation, and enjoy me trying to bring out the best I can in my guests. And, when you pick something you love to do, it's so important to love what you do, right?
Absolutely.
I would say that in most careers that you're a little bit different because playing music is your passion, it's your love. You love doing it, and it happens to be a career as well. Mm-hmm. But for most people, they pick a career that they're not in love with, and 10, 15, 20 years into it, they end up switching paths and going into a different career and basically starting over. I'm kind of old school when I think of whatever you like to do, if you do it and do it 110%, you could be successful at it.
Yeah, absolutely. I think there's a lot of value in having a hobby, as far as, overall contentment in life. And I'm just a guy that my hobby turned into something that I've been able to do every day instead of going to the 9 to 5 at this point,
Yeah.
and Lord knows I might go back to that at some point, and if I do, I do. I'm gonna count my blessings for getting to live the life that I've had so far. And, whatever I'm doing, I'm just going to try to be grateful and see the upside of it. I'm big on trying to stay positive,
Yeah.
And find things to be happy about as opposed to just scrounging around and finding something to be negative and unhappy about. You can always find stuff to be unhappy and be mad about, and
Yeah.
I'm guilty of that at times too.
The victim, right?
Well,
Play the victim.
That's such a mentality these days. So many people do that. They play the victim card, whether it's owed them or not. And I really don't want to do that. I would rather focus on the blessings in life and a little hard work and see where it gets me.
Yeah, I like it. Hope you guys enjoy the show today. You can find me at the joepavichpodcast.com. By the way, on there's all the links, Spotify, Apple, YouTube. I'd like to thank my sponsors, Giovanni Matita, Be Your Gift, and also Edwards Contracting Group. And Ben, if you could tell the audience where to find you at.
Easy enough. BenAllenBand.com. On all things social media, Ben Allen Band, blue check marks, all that stuff.
Love it. Well, now we're going to hear Ben play a little something. Hope you guys enjoy the show. Thank you. All right, man. Let's hear it.
All right. Well, give you guys an original tune. It's called The Path. And my dad's 87. Still kicking along, still riding his Harley when he's physically able to. And proud of the old man.
Nice.
My son is 17. So this song is called The Path. It's something I wrote just about teaching my kid lessons that I learned from my dad, and hopefully getting that point across to Tristan as well. So.
Yeah. Love it.
Songs ain't about the words, but how you sing them. Cards ain't about the aces, but how you play them. And money songs for spending and songs for saving. Whiskey is for sipping, it's not to drown in. Time is for spending wisely and not for wasting. A good book is ours for reading, not decoration. My daddy taught me how to live my life. He told me about wrong and everything that's right. He and Mama led me down the path. He said, son, when you need some help, you just ask. Training wheels are a temporary thing. They're boundaries that help avoid life's pain. You gotta pull them off if you wanna learn to ride. You can't be afraid to try, or you'll get stuck there on the side. My daddy taught me how to live my life. He told me about wrong and everything that's right. Yeah, he and Mama led me down the path. He said, son, when you need some help, you just ask. Now my own son is growing up before my eyes. It's so hard to believe the way the years fly by. Now hope someday you'll be singing this song too. And you look at me the way I look at you. 'Cause Daddy, you taught me how to live my life. You told me about wrong and showed me what was right. Yeah, you and Mama led me down the path to who I am. I pray God help me raise your grandson the best I can. I pray God help me raise your grandson and to be like his granddad.
Man, that was great. Ben, that's deep right there, man. Not knowing the song, the message and everything, and hearing you sing it really, man, really hits home, you know, as a dad and everything.
Thank you.
Good, man. Good
Thank
job.
you. I appreciate that very much.
Hearing those words. Will your son play that song at some point?
That would be awesome.
Yeah.
That'd
Are
be
they into
awesome.
music at all?
Nope.
No. Yeah. Well, they're not 31 yet.
They're not.
Yeah, wait until he's 31
He's
like
still
you.
got, as I can attest, he's still got time to get it figured out.
Yeah, man. Awesome job, man. I really appreciate you coming today,
Hey,
man.
thanks for having me.
Yeah.
Yeah,
sure.
good times.
Hope you guys enjoy the show.
Rise up, king. I'd rather build or destroy.